When people say don't get too high and don't get too low, I don't know if I agree with that. If you think about somebody like Marta, like Sinclair, like Rapinoe, they still fulfilled a lot of dreams for themselves, for people. Sport is the most powerful tool in the world.
Hello, I'm Vanessa. As you can hear from my accent, I'm French. I've been a sports content creator for 6 years now. I have built a community of nearly 400,000 sports professionals and fans. Welcome to Champion du Digital, the podcast that puts the spotlight on the champions who work behind the scene to shape the sports of today and write the sports of tomorrow. In this podcast, you will find interviews with professionals who provide concrete answers to a trendy subject in the sports industry. Fan experience, social media, Web3 influence, entrepreneurship, sports jobs. Whether you are an entrepreneur, a professional or a student, this podcast is made for you. Good listening.
My name's Carmelina Moscato, head coach, FIFA legend, and that's me, former international.
Why do you think this FIFA Women's World Cup was a turning point for women's football?
I think this World Cup, we were able to see more teams participate, 8 more teams than usual than we're used to see. Quality on the pitch has been, of the slimmest margin was game on any given day. We've had some breakout superstars. I think that's always exciting to continue to follow them in their club career. So that's been beautiful. Sold out stadiums, no matter if it was New Zealand or Australia. I think just being in some of these, Melbourne, Perth, and Sydney, myself personally, the buzz on the street was real. People really got behind this tournament.
During your talk on the stage, you talk about Jill Ellis' quote, "Coach are the guardian of dreams." Can you explain why this quote is important for you?
Kind of is central to what I believe. She articulated it really well, and I think that dreams come in all ways. Like, let's put an example. Winning a World Cup is a person, a staff, a country's dream. But if you think about somebody like Marta, like Sinclair, like Rapinoe, even though they dodged out of the first round, the group stage, which was unexpected, they still fulfilled a lot of dreams for themselves, for people. So it's not only about the accomplishment. I think it's about the human being, and I think coaches have a responsibility to take care of the person in front of them. I believe that, I live by that, and I want people in my camp to feel that way.
You talk about Megan Rapinoe.
Yeah.
Why do you think she changed the game?
I mean, she's bigger than football. She's been since she stepped into her own voice. I mean, I've known her for a very long time, and she's always been somebody extremely special, even from just, standing in her principle and what she believes in her values. But then when she took it to another level and I think put herself on the line, protecting a lot of people who don't have the same voice and platform that she has. Her thirst and hunger for social justice and just the right thing, I think, is inspiring. And what she does kind of finds its way to land on everybody in some way. She's changed the game forever, using the voice in the best way.
You played in World Cup. If I ask you to tell me a memory in World Cup, the first?
You know what? I probably should get checked out because I don't have a lot of my first game ever. I remember my first game ever for Canada, but not necessarily for the World Cup. But every World Cup has been so different. I played in 3, was on the roster for 3. So, I never really got a lot of minutes in the World Cup. I was always a role player. I played Olympic Games full time, but it was such an interesting thing. I think what it meant to me was it brought my sisters together, people I love forever, my family to the game, what it did for Canadians when we hosted in the 2015. I mean, World Cup is an opportunity to change lives, and I think it's continually done that for me personally, but also the people that get to experience it firsthand. It's the best event in the world.
How did you transition from your career as a footballer to coaching?
Yeah, I knew very early on that I wanted to coach since I was about 17 years old. I saw, my brother do it, and every time I had the opportunity to learn, go to take a diploma, run a few sessions, even if I didn't know what I was doing, I just had that desire to share the game and to teach the game. And that developed into a true pathway for me. I think the second I retired, I was like, I'm going to be world class in this no matter what it takes. And so putting everything into it, all my licensing is one part of it, but also putting the hard yards. Taking a club job, working every day on the grass, learning every day what works, what doesn't work, and putting yourself out there. I think it takes a lot, but I'm willing to do it for the long run.
What did you learn from your experience in Mexico?
Well, listen, it's a high pressure environment. So I was working with world class players. The Tigres roster is probably one of the better ones in North America. And I say that confidently. They're a very good group of players. And it brought the best out of me and I brought the best out of them. I think we can confidently say that. And you have to perform under in front of a group of fans who are ruthless. I hadn't dealt with that before.
Yeah.
And so that was a new experience for me. That comes with good and bad, positive and toxic. But at the end of the day, I felt very fortunate to have coached in that city for a city that loves women's football, and that was really, really special.
There is a question I ask to everyone I interview. Okay. It's the quote of Nelson Mandela. Do you think sports has the power to change the world?
It is right in front of us. It's bringing us together. I mean, I think the connections that it allows people to express who they are in a way that no other industry can do. So all walks of life, it's inclusive. Sport is the most powerful tool in the world for self-expression.
There is a special coach, Sarina, the coach of England team. What do you think about her journey?
She's an absolute game-changing legend. I think what she's been able to do over various time periods with different teams, different challenges, different federations, different stages is unprecedented. I think she's by far the best coach in the world at the minute. And I think what she's done is a huge inspiration to men and women and boys and girls everywhere. Literally, she will be etched in the memories of many for a very, very long time.
What is the best advice you received in your career of coach and player?
Yeah, I think, well, what first comes to mind without deep thought is, when people say don't get too high and don't get too low. I don't know if I agree with that. People are always talking about living in this sort of medium ground and staying balanced as a coach. And although I believe that, and I think most of the time, I think it's important to enjoy and to understand the highs and to understand the lows. So that means you have to visit them. Yeah. And eventually you come out with balance. But I don't think it's good to ignore the highs and ignore the lows. So that's what I learned, is that to live the full expression of the sport, you have to understand both. And so I'm exploring that right now. If you enjoyed this episode and learned something, you can help me spread the word. The best way is to subscribe, share the episode on social media by mentioning Champion du Digital. You have the link in the description. And give it 5 stars on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Merci.